What if the forgotten meals from the 1970s you'll never find online were the ones you grew up on? Back then, these dishes filled kitchens with smells and stories every family knew. How did everyday food slip so far from reach? Mock chicken salad cleverly used canned water chestnuts and mayonnaise to recreate the crunchy, creamy texture of traditional chicken salad without the expense of real poultry. This budget-friendly recipe allowed families to enjoy the familiar flavors of a classic lunch without splurging on meat, especially during times when fresh chicken might be hard to come by or too costly. The water chestnuts added a satisfying crunch that mimicked shredded chicken, while mayo brought creaminess and tang. Adding a few pantry staples like chopped celery, onions, or pickle relish enhanced the flavor and kept costs low. This salad was perfect served on bread, crackers, or as a simple side, and it helped stretch limited resources in a creative way. In the 1970s, when convenience and thrift were essential in kitchens, recipes like this made a big difference. Mock chicken salad proved that affordable ingredients could come together to create a satisfying, familiar meal with minimal fuss and maximum flavor. Clam dip in the 1970s was a cocktail party essential, the kind of appetizer that seemed to draw guests like a magnet. Made from minced clams blended into cream cheese or sour cream, it was seasoned with lemon juice, Worcestershire sauce, and a hint of garlic. Served chilled with an array of crackers, chips, or crudités, it provided a rich, briny contrast to the other finger foods on offer. It was a dish that managed to be both sophisticated and accessible, appealing to seafood lovers and the simply curious alike. Many hosts appreciated how quickly it could be assembled, often just minutes before guests arrived. In the 1970s, when entertaining at home was often a regular weekend event, having a reliable, crowd-pleasing dip in the repertoire was invaluable. Clam dip's creamy base and subtle seafood flavor made it stand out without overpowering other flavors on the table. Paired with a crisp white wine or a classic cocktail, it set the tone for a relaxed yet polished gathering. For many, it is still a taste that instantly recalls the hum of conversation and the clink of glasses from decades past. Baked bean and hot dog bake turned two of the cheapest grocery staples into something both kids and adults could not wait to eat. Large cans of baked beans were stirred together with sliced hot dogs and baked until the mixture was bubbling and thick, filling the kitchen with a sweet, smoky aroma. A topping of breadcrumbs or shredded cheese was sometimes added if the budget allowed, turning it into something even more special. The natural sweetness of the beans balanced perfectly with the salty smokiness of the hot dogs, making it taste indulgent even though it cost very little to prepare. This was the kind of dish you could bring to a school potluck, a church supper, or a casual weeknight dinner and know it would be gone in minutes. Some cooks tossed in chopped onions, peppers, or even a splash of mustard for extra tang, while others kept it simple for the pickiest eaters. Served alongside cornbread or a crisp green salad, it was a complete, satisfying meal that embodied the thrifty yet crowd-pleasing spirit of 1970s home cooking. Cheese and pickle toasties offered a warm, tangy snack that was a common fixture in vintage American cookbooks. These toasties combined melted cheese with pickles, sandwiched between slices of bread and grilled or toasted until golden and bubbly. The contrasting flavors of creamy cheese and sharp pickles created a satisfying balance that made this snack appealing across age groups. Quick to assemble and easy to cook, cheese and pickle toasties became a favorite when a simple yet flavorful snack was needed without fuss. The recipe's enduring popularity stemmed from its use of accessible ingredients and the way it elevated basic staples into a tasty treat. These toasties often brought a sense of nostalgia, reminding many of afternoons spent at home or school with comforting homemade snacks. They exemplify how mid-century cooks combined familiar flavors in straightforward ways to deliver maximum enjoyment with minimal effort. The warm, crispy exterior and gooey filling remain a hallmark of this beloved classic. Sweet potato and raisin mash was a simple yet comforting side dish that brought together the natural sweetness of canned sweet potatoes with juicy raisins in an effortless mash. Popular during the 1960s, this recipe capitalized on pantry staples that required minimal prep but delivered satisfying flavor and texture. The sweet potatoes were mashed until smooth and mixed with plump raisins, creating a balance of creamy and chewy elements. Often served alongside main courses, this dish was prized for its sweetness and convenience, making it a common choice for busy weeknight dinners or holiday meals. Its quick preparation time fit well into the 10-minute recipe trend, offering families a way to add variety and warmth to the table without complex cooking techniques. While modern variations of sweet potato dishes tend to be more elaborate, the straightforward sweet potato and raisin mash stands as a nostalgic reminder of the resourceful, flavorful meals that defined 1960s American kitchens. Sloppy lentil sliders were a clever way to enjoy the sloppy Joe craze on a budget, swapping ground beef for lentils simmered in tangy tomato sauce. These mini patties were packed with flavor and nutrients, but cost a fraction of traditional meat sliders, making them a popular choice for families tightening their belts. Lentils provided a meaty texture that held together well when formed into small slider-sized patties, which were then topped with the signature sloppy Joe sauce. Served on small buns or even plain bread, these sliders brought joy to dinner tables without denting wallets. This dish embodied the spirit of 1970s thriftiness, taking a beloved classic and making it accessible to all income levels. The warm, tangy sauce paired perfectly with the hearty lentils, satisfying appetites and stretching meals further. It was a great way to introduce plant-based proteins before such ideas became mainstream, showcasing the timeless nature of creative, budget-friendly cooking. Broccoli rice casserole in the 1970s was the definition of comfort-meeting convenience. Made with tender broccoli florets, fluffy rice, and a creamy sauce often built from condensed soup, it quickly became a go-to for potlucks and family dinners. Cheddar cheese was the common topping, melted into a bubbling golden layer that begged to be spooned through. It was the kind of dish that could stretch a small amount of ingredients into something that fed a crowd without feeling skimpy. The 1970s kitchen was full of casserole innovations, and this one stood out because it combined wholesome vegetables with the indulgence of cheese and creaminess. For busy parents, it could be assembled ahead of time, baked when needed, and served straight from the same dish, minimizing cleanup. For guests, it was familiar enough to be comforting but had just enough richness to feel like a treat. Whether on the Sunday table or at a church supper, broccoli rice casserole earned its place as a dependable classic. It spoke to the decade's love for one-dish meals that brought people together over something warm, hearty, and easy to share. Bulgur wheat pilaf with vegetables reflected the growing interest in health-conscious eating during the 1970s, but it was also an inexpensive way to make a filling meal. Bulgur was a grain that cooked quickly and absorbed flavors beautifully, making it a great base for sautéed onions, peppers, carrots, and sometimes a handful of herbs. It provided a nutty taste and a hearty texture, yet was much cheaper than meat-based dishes. This pilaf could be served as a main course for a light dinner or as a side dish to stretch more expensive proteins. Health food stores were becoming more common during this decade, and recipes like bulgur pilaf bridged the gap between nutrition and frugality. It could be made in large batches for just a few dollars, making it perfect for budget-minded families. The subtle flavors made it versatile, so leftovers could be repurposed into stuffed peppers or served cold as a salad. For those who wanted to eat well without spending much, bulgur wheat pilaf with vegetables proved that healthy and affordable could absolutely go hand in hand. German chocolate cake in the 1970s was a dessert that promised indulgence from the very first glance, with its rich layers and distinctive frosting. The cake itself was moist and deeply flavored with chocolate, often enhanced with buttermilk for tenderness. What set it apart, however, was the frosting, a luscious blend of coconut, pecans, and caramelized sugar bound together in a creamy mixture. Spread thickly between each layer and across the top, it created a striking contrast of textures, from soft cake to chewy coconut and crunchy nuts. This cake was a centerpiece dessert, often reserved for birthdays, anniversaries, and special gatherings. Its name was a nod to Samuel German, who developed a type of dark baking chocolate rather than any direct connection to Germany. In the 1970s, it fit perfectly with the trend of richly flavored, generously portioned desserts that were meant to be shared. Serving a slice meant offering something unmistakably homemade, full of care and tradition. Each forkful delivered a balance of sweetness, nuttiness, and chocolate depth that kept people coming back for seconds, solidifying its place as a cherished classic in the decade's dessert repertoire. Green bean almondine was a speedy and flavorful side dish that perfectly captured mid-century America's love for simple, elegant vegetables. This recipe involved sautéing fresh green beans in butter and tossing them with toasted almonds for a satisfying crunch. The dish was favored for its minimal preparation time and ability to elevate humble green beans into a sophisticated accompaniment. Its buttery richness paired with the nuttiness of almonds complemented a wide range of main courses, from roasted meats to casual dinners. Popular at family gatherings and holiday meals, green bean almondine offered a fresh yet indulgent way to serve vegetables. The recipe's success lay in balancing texture and flavor, while requiring only a few ingredients readily found in most kitchens. This dish reflected the era's trend toward incorporating fresh produce into everyday meals with straightforward, quick-cooking methods. Its continued popularity attests to its timeless appeal and the nostalgic memories it evokes of classic American home cooking. Crispy cheese and cracker stack was a beloved no-cook snack in many 1960s American homes, consisting of neatly layered slices of cheese and crisp crackers assembled for easy serving and eating. This simple but satisfying recipe required only the choice of favorite cheeses, such as sharp cheddar, Swiss, or processed cheese slices, stacked between crackers to create bite-sized, flavorful snacks. The delightful contrast between the crunchy texture of the crackers and the smooth or firm texture of the cheese made this dish a favorite at family gatherings, cocktail parties, and casual snacks alike. These stacks could be put together in minutes, making them an ideal last-minute appetizer or easy-to-grab snack option. The recipe reflected the mid-century American appreciation for convenience combined with familiar and comforting flavors. Though modern snack trends have evolved toward more elaborate or health-focused options, crispy cheese and cracker stacks remain a nostalgic favorite for those who remember classic party fare, representing a time when simple ingredients and minimal preparation were the keys to enjoyable, entertaining, and quick bites. Ratatouille in the 1970s was less about rustic French kitchens and more about showing off a colorful, health-conscious side to dinner. This vegetable medley, usually zucchini, eggplant, tomatoes, onions, and peppers, was slowly cooked until tender, with olive oil and herbs infusing every bite. It appealed to the decade's growing interest in lighter, plant-focused eating while still feeling indulgent. Many home cooks discovered it through cookbooks or television chefs who were introducing European recipes to American audiences. The beauty of ratatouille was in its flexibility. It could be served hot as a side, chilled as a salad, or even spooned over rice or pasta for a vegetarian main. In a time when bright, fresh dishes were gaining ground against heavy, cream-laden meals, ratatouille stood out with its vibrant colors and natural flavors. Its presentation, often layered or artfully arranged, also made it attractive for dinner parties, where appearance mattered almost as much as taste. In an era experimenting with international influences, ratatouille found a perfect niche, offering something new without straying too far from familiar vegetables. The result was a dish that felt modern yet comforting, a reflection of changing tastes in American kitchens. Creamed peas on toast offered a quick and creamy way to enjoy vegetables, serving tender peas in a rich white sauce over crispy toast, making it a popular breakfast or light supper option during the 1970s. This dish was budget-friendly because it used canned or frozen peas and pantry ingredients like milk, butter, and flour to create a silky sauce. The creamy texture softened the peas, making them more appealing to children and adults alike, while the toast provided a crunchy base that helped stretch the meal further. It was a go-to recipe for households wanting to add a bit of vegetable goodness to their diets without splurging on fresh produce. The comforting combination of warm toast and rich sauce made it feel indulgent despite its simplicity and low cost. Creamed peas on toast captured the era's balance between thrift and taste, reminding families that even humble ingredients could come together to form a delicious and satisfying dish. Shepherd's pie with mashed potato topping was a 1970s classic that stretched a small amount of meat into a full, comforting family dinner. Leftover roast beef, ground beef, or even chicken was combined with gravy and an assortment of vegetables, sometimes fresh, sometimes frozen, and layered in a baking dish. A generous topping of creamy mashed potatoes covered the filling, and baking until the top turned golden brown gave the dish a satisfying contrast of textures. This was one of the best ways to avoid waste, turning odds and ends from the fridge into something that felt like a proper Sunday dinner. Because the recipe was so flexible, no two versions were ever exactly alike, yet they all carried that same familiar sense of warmth and comfort. Families appreciated that it could be made ahead and reheated on busy nights, and the smell of it in the oven often had everyone gathering in the kitchen before it was ready. In many homes, shepherd's pie was proof that even the most modest leftovers, with a little creativity, could be transformed into a meal that felt rich and memorable. Bourbon balls in the 1970s were a holiday indulgence that blended sweetness, warmth, and just enough bourbon kick to stand out. Made without baking, they combined crushed cookies, cocoa powder, powdered sugar, and bourbon, rolled into neat bite-sized spheres. Their flavor deepened over a few days, making them perfect for preparing ahead of festive gatherings. With a rich chocolate taste and a grown-up boozy aroma, they were a favorite at adult holiday parties, often displayed on decorative platters with other seasonal treats. While their flavor was bold, their size made them easy to. Crispy potato pancakes were a beloved pan-fried dish made from grated potatoes, cherished for their golden crunch and comforting flavor. Perfect for breakfast or dinner, these pancakes used simple ingredients like shredded potatoes, eggs, and flour to bind them before frying in oil or butter. The recipe's appeal lay in its quick preparation and the satisfying contrast of a crisp exterior with a tender interior. Mid-20th century families often turned to potato pancakes as an economical way to stretch ingredients while delivering hearty, flavorful meals. The dish was popular in both rural and urban kitchens, often served with sour cream, applesauce, or gravy. Crispy potato pancakes embodied the era's emphasis on practical, filling food that could be made easily with pantry staples. Their enduring popularity speaks to the timeless appeal of simple, well-executed comfort food that warms both body and soul. Cheese and pineapple skewers were a cheerful, bite-sized appetizer that embodied the playful spirit of 1960s entertaining. Cubes of sharp cheddar cheese alternated with sweet pineapple chunks threaded onto toothpicks or cocktail sticks, creating an attractive and easy-to-eat party snack. The contrasting flavors of salty, savory cheese with juicy tropical pineapple made for a pleasing combination that delighted guests at cocktail parties, potlucks, and family gatherings. These skewers required no cooking and minimal preparation, allowing hosts to quickly assemble a tasty and visually appealing dish. This simple recipe reflected the era's fondness for finger foods that combined convenience with a touch of sophistication. Though the popularity of pineapple in savory dishes has waned, cheese and pineapple skewers remain a nostalgic symbol of mid-century Americana and its inventive yet accessible approach to casual entertaining. Creamed spinach on toast was a simple way to enjoy greens without splurging on fresh produce or fancy sides. Spinach was cooked down into a silky, creamy sauce made from basic pantry ingredients like milk, butter, and flour, then spooned generously over slices of toasted bread for a meal that was both comforting and frugal. In the 1970s, when fresh vegetables could be expensive or scarce, this dish provided a way to sneak in some nutrition without fuss or cost. The creamy texture disguised the humble nature of the spinach, making it more appealing to picky eaters or anyone craving warmth on a chilly night. Serving it on toast also added a satisfying crunch and helped stretch the meal further. It was a favorite for those seeking comfort food that did not require elaborate preparation or exotic ingredients. This dish brought a touch of elegance to an otherwise simple ingredient and reminded many of home-cooked meals filled with warmth and love, even on the tightest budgets. Cheese balls with nuts were an absolute staple at 1970s parties, the kind of appetizer that signaled the start of a night filled with chatter, music, and maybe a little dancing. Made from a base of cream cheese softened to perfection, they were mixed with herbs, shredded cheeses, and sometimes even a splash of Worcestershire sauce for depth. Once shaped into a neat sphere, the cheese ball was rolled in finely chopped nuts, often pecans or walnuts, which added both crunch and visual appeal. Placed in the center of a platter surrounded by crackers, it became an instant centerpiece. What made the cheese ball so beloved was its ease of preparation and versatility. Hosts could prepare it hours ahead, freeing them to focus on the rest of the evening. In the 1970s, when cocktail hours and casual gatherings were booming, this dish matched the mood perfectly, unfussy, shareable, and indulgent without being over the top. Guests would gather around, spreading generous portions onto crisp crackers, chatting as they went. It was part of the rhythm of the night, a signal that good company and good food were about to blend into hours of easygoing fun. Sloppy Joes on homemade buns were one of the easiest and cheapest ways to stretch a pound of ground beef in the 1970s, and they brought a sweet, savory aroma that could fill the whole house. The meat was browned with onions, then simmered with ketchup, mustard, and a touch of brown sugar until it became a thick, flavorful filling. Serving it on homemade buns made it even more frugal, since flour, yeast, and water cost much less than store-bought bread. These sandwiches were messy, hearty, and perfect for feeding a table of hungry kids after school or a weekend afternoon outdoors. They were the kind of meal that could be doubled without much extra cost, making them popular for church picnics or potlucks. The sauce soaked into the bread just enough to make each bite juicy, but not so much that it fell apart before you finished eating. Many families added whatever vegetables they had, like diced peppers or carrots, to stretch the filling even further. Sloppy Joes were the perfect mix of comfort and thrift, the kind of food that stuck with you long after the plate was cleared. Open-faced hot turkey sandwiches became a post-war staple that brought both speed and comfort to the dinner table. These sandwiches used leftover turkey smothered in rich gravy, served open-faced on a slice of bread, allowing the warm sauce to soak into every bite. The dish reflected the era's practical approach to meals, emphasizing making the most out of leftovers while satisfying hungry families quickly. It was common to see this on weekday dinners when time was short, but a hearty meal was still needed. The gravy often came from pan drippings, adding flavor without requiring extra ingredients, which made this recipe especially valuable during times of rationing or tight budgets. People appreciated that this dish did not require long preparation or fancy skills, making it accessible for cooks of all levels. It also brought a nostalgic connection to holiday meals while fitting the busy pace of post-war life. For many families, it was a quick way to recreate the warmth of a Sunday roast without spending hours in the kitchen. The open-faced turkey sandwich is a perfect example of how simplicity and flavor met in the American home kitchen of the mid-20th century. Creamy avocado and egg salad was a beloved quick fix for many households in the 1960s, combining ripe, mashed avocado with chopped, hard-boiled eggs and creamy mayonnaise. This simple yet flavorful mixture was perfect for spreading on bread or stuffing into sandwiches, providing a rich, satisfying taste in under 10 minutes. The smooth texture of avocado complemented the tender eggs, while the mayonnaise brought everything together with a touch of moisture and tang. This salad reflected the era's growing interest in new ingredients like avocado, which became more accessible and popular in American kitchens during that decade. It was a nutritious option packed with healthy fats and protein, ideal for busy families looking for quick meals without sacrificing flavor. Its ease of preparation and versatility made it a go-to dish for lunchboxes, casual dinners, or light snacks. While avocado salads have evolved over time, the classic creamy avocado and egg salad remains a nostalgic favorite that embodies the quick, comforting, and delicious spirit of 1960s home cooking. Egg foo young in the Americanized style was a go-to meal for families looking for a quick and hearty dish without breaking the budget. This simple egg omelet is packed with whatever vegetables you had on hand, like bean sprouts, onions, and peas, all fried together and smothered in a savory brown sauce made from pantry staples. Unlike the traditional Chinese version, this recipe uses a more approachable flavor profile for American palates, making it a nostalgic reminder of 1970s takeout nights. It stretched a few eggs into a meal that felt like a treat and was easy enough to whip up on any weeknight. Plus, it made leftovers taste like new again the next day, proving that clever cooking was the real secret to surviving tight budgets. Whether it was served with rice or alone, egg foo young was a simple way to bring something a little different to the dinner table without spending much. The mix of fluffy eggs and crisp veggies gave families a comforting, filling dish that was perfect for when money was tight, but taste still mattered. Oyster stew was one of those 1970s dishes that felt timeless, yet its presence at holiday dinners gave it an extra air of occasion. Creamy, buttery, and rich, it was a warm and comforting way to begin a winter feast, often served in small bowls before the main course. The base started with fresh oysters and their liquor, gently cooked so they stayed tender rather than rubbery. Butter and cream were added generously, turning the broth into something velvety and indulgent. Seasonings were usually kept simple, just enough salt, pepper, and perhaps a dash of paprika to let the oysters shine. Many households reserved this dish for special occasions, not only because oysters were a treat, but because the ritual of making it was tied to family tradition. In coastal areas, it was almost a requirement for holiday meals, while inland families considered it an exotic offering. The 1970s emphasis on both comfort food and sophistication meant oyster stew fit right in, appealing to those who wanted familiar flavors elevated by quality ingredients. Served with a few crackers or a slice of buttered bread, it was a dish that could silence a lively table with that first warming spoonful. Cabbage roll casserole took all the flavors of traditional stuffed cabbage and turned them into an easy, budget-friendly bake. Instead of painstakingly rolling each cabbage leaf around the filling, chopped cabbage was layered with a seasoned mixture of rice, tomato sauce, and ground beef in a large casserole dish. This shortcut saved precious time, while still delivering the same comforting blend of sweet cabbage and tangy tomato that people loved. It was an affordable way to feed a family because the rice and cabbage made up most of the volume, allowing a small amount of meat to go a long way. As the casserole baked slowly, the flavors melded beautifully, and the cabbage softened until it was tender and sweet. Leftovers were just as good, sometimes even better the next day, making it a smart choice for tight weekly meal plans. Every family had its own spin, often seasoning with paprika, garlic, or fresh herbs from the garden. In many homes, this dish represented a perfect marriage of tradition and practicality, proving that with creativity, even the simplest pantry ingredients could deliver a meal that wrapped you in comfort after a long day. Sloppy Joe sliders captured the spirit of casual mid-century American dining with a miniature take on the iconic Sloppy Joe sandwich. These small-sized versions used seasoned ground beef cooked in a tangy tomato-based sauce, spooned onto mini buns or rolls. The sliders maintained all the messy, flavorful charm of the original dish while offering a bite-sized option suitable for parties or quick meals. Sloppy Joe sliders reflected the era's growing interest in convenience foods and finger foods that were easy to serve and share. They became popular in homes where families sought fun, informal dining experiences without spending hours preparing food. The recipe was praised for using inexpensive ingredients and stretching ground meat across multiple servings, making it budget-conscious. Its presence at gatherings and potlucks highlighted a sense of community and simple enjoyment. The sliders also represented a culinary evolution where traditional meals adapted to smaller, snack-friendly formats, showcasing mid-century creativity in the kitchen. Chicken and celery salad cups were a refreshing and hearty cold dish that featured shredded cooked chicken combined with crunchy celery and creamy mayonnaise, served in crisp lettuce or endive cups. This 10-minute recipe was a favorite at 1960s cocktail parties and family gatherings for its convenience and attractive presentation. The chicken and celery mixture was lightly seasoned and chilled, providing a cool, satisfying filling that balanced the tender meat with fresh, crisp vegetables. Serving the salad in lettuce or endive leaves allowed for an elegant finger food option that was both light and filling. This dish showcased the era's talent for transforming simple ingredients into stylish, easy-to-eat appetizers. Though modern tastes have shifted towards different wraps and dips, chicken and celery salad cups remain a delightful example of mid-century American entertaining that combined speed, flavor, and sophistication. Grits and beans was a classic Southern pairing that balanced affordable, easy-to-grow corn grits with protein-packed cooked beans, making it a popular meal among low-income families in the 1970s. The dish was hearty and filling, providing energy and nourishment with simple ingredients that could be bought in bulk or grown in home gardens. Grits, often cooked creamy or slightly coarse, offered a comforting base, while beans added texture and flavor with minimal cost. This combination was flexible and adaptable, with variations depending on local bean varieties and seasoning preferences. It was a go-to meal that could be made vegetarian or with bits of pork for added richness when budgets allowed. Grits and beans reflected a culinary tradition rooted in resourcefulness and community, making it a staple on Southern tables during times of financial struggle. Its warmth and simplicity made it more than just food. It was a reminder of home and resilience. Monte Cristo sandwiches in the 1970s had a certain decadent charm that made them hard to resist, especially when spotted on a diner menu or at a brunch buffet. Stacked with layers of ham, turkey, and cheese, this sandwich went far beyond the usual cold cuts. The bread was dipped in an egg batter, much like French toast, then fried until golden, crisp on the outside but soft and melting within. A dusting of powdered sugar over the top added an unexpected sweetness that paired beautifully with the savory filling, especially when served with a side of jam or preserves for dipping. While it sounded indulgent, and it was, it also had a certain novelty that made it popular at mid-morning gatherings or late lunches. In the 1970s, people were experimenting more with combining sweet and savory, and the Monte Cristo fit that trend perfectly. It was both casual and extravagant, something you could find in upscale cafes or make at home for a weekend treat. Every bite was a mix of textures and flavors that felt just a little bit rebellious compared to the standard sandwich fare of the era, and that is exactly why it stayed in people's memories. Stuffed green peppers with rice and tomato sauce in the 1970s were the kind of meal that made a family table look like something special, even when money was tight. Green peppers were inexpensive, especially in summer when gardens overflowed with them, and the filling was made mostly from pantry staples: rice, a little tomato sauce, some onion, and maybe a bit of leftover ground beef if it was on hand. The dish stretched ingredients further by using rice as the main filler, allowing even a small portion of meat to feed several people. Baking them until the peppers softened and the tomato sauce thickened filled the kitchen with a savory, comforting smell. This was the sort of dinner that felt celebratory yet practical, and it was colorful enough to make kids curious about eating vegetables. Some cooks added shredded cheese on top if they had it, while others kept it plain to save on cost. Either way, the combination of sweet pepper, hearty rice, and tangy tomato was satisfying enough to make it into the weekly rotation. It was a smart, delicious way to turn garden produce and budget ingredients into something that felt like more than just a meal. It felt like care on a plate. Creamed corn on toast served as a comforting and quick Southern-inspired dish that made the most of pantry staples. This recipe blended tender corn kernels with a creamy sauce, often thickened with butter and milk, poured generously over toasted bread. The result was a rich, warm meal or side that offered both softness and a touch of sweetness in every bite. Creamed corn on toast was favored for its simplicity, requiring little time or complicated ingredients, yet delivering a satisfying flavor. Its roots lay in Southern cooking traditions where corn was a dietary mainstay and stretching meals creatively was common. This dish was especially popular during times when fresh vegetables were scarce, but canned or frozen corn was more readily available. It provided comfort and nourishment with minimal fuss, fitting perfectly into the fast-paced routines of mid-century households. The toast added a pleasant crunch that contrasted with the smoothness of the creamed corn, making it a textural delight. Over the years, it became a nostalgic favorite remembered for its humble origins and dependable appeal. Tuna salad stuffed tomatoes were a colorful and nutritious 10-minute recipe featuring halved tomatoes filled with a quick tuna salad mixture, perfect for lunches or light dinners. The tuna salad was typically made by combining canned tuna with mayonnaise, chopped celery, onions, and seasonings, then spooned into hollowed tomato halves for a visually appealing presentation. This dish offered a refreshing balance of creamy, tangy tuna salad with the juicy, slightly acidic tomato, making it a satisfying yet light meal option. Popular in 1960s America, tuna salad stuffed tomatoes embodied the trend of combining convenience foods with fresh produce for speedy preparation. Served chilled, they were often enjoyed at picnics, buffets, or simple home meals. While less common today, this recipe remains a charming example of mid-century quick dishes that balance taste, nutrition, and ease. Vegetable frittata with leftover veggies was a protein-packed casserole that rescued forgotten vegetables from the fridge, turning them into a hearty, affordable meal. Eggs, beaten and poured over diced carrots, peppers, onions, or greens, were baked until firm, creating a simple yet nourishing dish. This recipe was ideal for 1970s families who needed to make the most out of every grocery trip, using what was on hand rather than buying new ingredients. The frittata was filling enough to serve as a main dish and portable enough to be eaten cold for lunches or picnics. Its flexibility made it popular. Any combination of leftover vegetables could be tossed in without worrying about exact measurements. Baking the dish allowed the eggs to bind everything together, creating a warm, comforting meal that was easy on the wallet. Vegetable frittata highlighted the thrift and creativity of cooking during tough economic times while remaining delicious and satisfying. Cabbage soup in the 1970s was one of those dishes that managed to be both humble and versatile, making it a staple in many households. It was a light yet filling option, often simmered slowly with onions, carrots, celery, and a gentle seasoning of herbs to bring out its natural sweetness. Some families added diced potatoes or tomatoes for extra body, while others kept it simple for a more delicate flavor. This soup was perfect for stretching a budget, as cabbage was inexpensive and widely available in grocery stores and backyard gardens alike. It also aligned with the decade's growing interest in lighter eating, often being promoted in diet plans and magazine articles promising quick results. But beyond its use in fad diets, cabbage soup was also a comforting weeknight meal, especially when served with warm bread or rolls. Its aroma filled the kitchen with a sense of hominess, and its ease of preparation meant it could be left to simmer while other tasks were done. In a time when convenience and health were becoming equal priorities, cabbage soup struck a balance, offering nourishment without fuss. It was a dish that could be adapted endlessly, yet never lost its straightforward charm. Vegetable chow mein with crispy noodles became a popular Chinese-American-style dinner in 1970s home kitchens, thanks to the availability of canned vegetables and crunchy packaged noodles. This version was a far cry from traditional Chinese cooking, but it offered an affordable, flavorful meal that felt a little exotic for the time. A simple sauce made from soy, broth, and cornstarch-coated stir-fried vegetables like celery, bean sprouts, and onions, which were served over a bed of crispy noodles. The combination of textures, soft vegetables and crunchy noodles, made it appealing to both kids and adults. It was a meatless option that still felt substantial, making it perfect for families trying to cut grocery costs. The recipe's adaptability meant that whatever vegetables were in the pantry could be used, keeping costs low and waste minimal. In a decade when international flavors were just starting to enter mainstream kitchens, vegetable chow mein offered a taste of something different without breaking the budget. It was a cheap, cheerful dinner that stood out from the usual weeknight meals while still being easy to prepare at home. Cottage cheese and fruit bowls offered a light and wholesome dish that paired creamy, mild cottage cheese with a variety of seasonal fruits. This combination was celebrated for its balance of protein and natural sweetness, making it a favored choice for breakfast, snacks, or light lunches. The simplicity of this dish made it highly adaptable, as any fresh or canned fruits could be used, including berries, peaches, or pineapple. Mid-century cooks appreciated its nutritional benefits and the quick assembly it required, fitting well with busy lifestyles. The dish also provided a refreshing contrast in textures, with the softness of the cheese complemented by the juicy firmness of the fruit. Cottage cheese and fruit bowls reflected the era's growing interest in health-conscious meals that did not sacrifice taste or convenience. This classic pairing remains a nostalgic favorite, reminding many of the straightforward yet satisfying dishes of their youth. Quick fruit and nut yogurt. Parfait was a quick and nutritious treat beloved in the 1960s for its simple assembly and delightful flavors. This parfait layered creamy yogurt with sweet canned fruits such as peaches or pineapple, along with a generous sprinkling of chopped nuts like walnuts or pecans. The combination provided a pleasing contrast between the smooth, tangy yogurt, the juicy fruit, and the crunchy texture of the nuts. Perfect for breakfast, a snack, or a light dessert, this recipe required minimal preparation time, fitting the era's demand for fast, wholesome meals. The canned fruit added a convenient sweetness that balanced the natural tartness of yogurt, while the nuts contributed protein and richness. This parfait was often served in clear glasses to showcase its colorful layers, making it visually appealing as well as tasty. Its popularity reflected the growing awareness of health and nutrition during the decade, along with a desire for fresh, easy-to-make dishes. While today's parfaits may include granola or fresh fruit, the classic 1960s fruit and nut yogurt parfait remains a nostalgic favorite, combining pantry staples into a satisfying and wholesome treat that anyone could whip up in moments. Vegetable stir-fry with ramen noodles made the most of inexpensive instant noodles and a mix of frozen or canned vegetables, creating a quick and satisfying meal for families on a budget. In the 1970s, ramen noodles were an affordable pantry staple, loved for their long shelf life and ease of preparation. Tossing them in a hot pan with whatever vegetables were available, like carrots, peas, or cabbage, turned a simple packet of noodles into a colorful, nourishing dish. The combination of crunchy veggies and soft noodles made for a texture-packed meal that didn't cost much but filled hungry bellies efficiently. It was a clever way to add variety and nutrients without the need for expensive fresh produce. The use of soy sauce or basic seasonings enhanced the flavors, mimicking popular takeout dishes, but at a fraction of the price. This dish quickly became a favorite for weeknight dinners and lunchboxes alike, proving that resourcefulness in the kitchen could lead to tasty, wholesome results even during tight times. Vegetable stir-fry with ramen noodles captured the essence of 1970s thrift and comfort food. Porcupine meatballs in the 1970s were a playful, hearty favorite that appealed to kids and adults alike. Ground beef was mixed with uncooked rice, which expanded as it simmered in a tomato-based sauce, giving the meatballs their spiky appearance. The rice soaked up flavor while helping bind the meat, creating a tender, satisfying bite. They were budget-friendly, stretching ingredients without sacrificing taste, and could be made ahead for convenience. Served with mashed potatoes, noodles, or bread for dipping, they became a comforting staple in many households. Their quirky name brought smiles, while their rich flavor kept them on regular rotation. In a time when creativity in the kitchen was valued, porcupine meatballs stood out as a clever way to turn simple ingredients into something memorable, delivering both nostalgia and comfort with every serving. Cornbread and pinto beans was a meal deeply rooted in Southern cooking that found its way into frugal kitchens across America during the 1970s. Pinto beans simmered slowly with onions, salt, and maybe just a scrap of ham or bacon for richness were served alongside or spooned over wedges of golden cornbread. The beans provided hearty protein and a savory earthiness, while the cornbread brought sweetness and a crumbly texture that made every bite satisfying. Cooking the beans low and slow allowed them to develop a depth of flavor that paired beautifully with the slightly crisp edges of skillet-baked cornbread. The dish was incredibly inexpensive, feeding a family for pennies and offering leftovers that were just as good reheated the next day. Many households considered this the ultimate comfort meal, perfect for cold evenings when something simple yet filling was needed. Butter melting into a hot slice of cornbread next to a steaming bowl of beans was a humble pleasure that carried generations of tradition. More than just a meal, it was a reminder of resourcefulness, resilience, and the beauty of making something wonderful from basic, affordable ingredients. Ham and cheese roll-ups offered a simple, no-fuss solution to lunchtime or snack needs during the mid-century years. These roll-ups combined thin slices of ham and cheese wrapped inside soft bread or tortillas, providing a quick and satisfying bite without the need for heating or cooking. The appeal lay in their portability and ease of assembly, making them ideal for packed lunches or impromptu snacks. Kids and adults alike enjoyed these nostalgic treats for their familiar flavors and straightforward construction. Roll-ups were a go-to option for busy households, especially when time was limited but nourishment was essential. Often, they incorporated whatever deli meats and cheeses were on hand, making them versatile and budget-friendly. The recipe's popularity endured because it required minimal preparation and no special kitchen tools, allowing even novice cooks to put together a tasty meal in minutes. Beyond convenience, the ham and cheese roll-ups evoke memories of school days and simple family gatherings, carrying a comforting sense of familiarity. They reflect a time when classic ingredients combined in practical ways to meet everyday needs without sacrificing taste. Grape and cheese salad was a sweet and savory cold dish that combined juicy, fresh grapes with cubes of sharp cheddar cheese and a touch of mayonnaise for added creaminess. This salad was a common favorite at family gatherings, potlucks, and holiday meals throughout the 1960s, appreciated for its unique blend of contrasting flavors and simple, quick assembly. The natural sweetness of the grapes perfectly balanced the tangy, robust flavor of the cheddar cheese, while the mayonnaise provided a smooth texture that brought all the elements together. Often served chilled on a bed of crisp lettuce or alongside other cold dishes, this recipe exemplified the era's fondness for pairing sweet fruits with savory ingredients in cold salads and appetizers. While it may seem unusual to modern tastes, grape and cheese salad remains a nostalgic symbol of inventive and approachable mid-century American cooking. It highlights the creativity and resourcefulness of home cooks who sought to create tasty dishes that were both convenient and visually appealing, capturing the comforting spirit of quick recipes from the 1960s. Mock tuna salad, made with mashed canned chickpeas, gave families a vegetarian option that saved money while still feeling satisfying. By substituting expensive tuna with protein-packed chickpeas, people could whip up a creamy, flavorful salad using budget pantry staples like mayonnaise, celery, and a dash of mustard. This clever switch allowed folks to enjoy the familiar tang and texture of a tuna salad sandwich without reaching for costly canned fish. It was especially handy during the 1970s when canned goods were pantry mainstays and fresh ingredients were often hard to afford. The salad was versatile too, perfect served on bread, crackers, or simply eaten by the spoonful, making it a go-to for quick lunches or potluck dishes. The gentle, earthy flavor of the chickpeas paired well with the crunchy veggies, providing a satisfying bite every time. This dish stood as proof that a little creativity could turn humble ingredients into something special, and it brought smiles to many faces who craved something familiar but affordable. Cornish game. Hens were a hallmark of 1970s elegance, the kind of main course you brought out when you wanted each guest to feel special. These small birds, roasted whole, made for an impressive presentation, everyone having their own perfectly portioned main rather than slices carved from a larger roast. Seasoned simply or dressed up with herbs, citrus, or glazes, they roasted quickly and looked beautiful on the plate. Serving them was part of the appeal. Lifting the lid on a serving platter to reveal rows of golden brown hens was guaranteed to earn admiration. In the 1970s, when entertaining often leaned toward the theatrical, Cornish game hens fit right in. They were accessible in supermarkets yet carried an air of luxury, making them perfect for holiday dinners, anniversaries, or even an ambitious weeknight meal. Side dishes could be as simple as roasted vegetables or as elaborate as wild rice pilaf, but the hens always stole the show. For many home cooks, they symbolized the shift toward more individual, restaurant-style plating, a trend that still influences dinner parties today. They were a perfect blend of attainable glamour and hearty comfort. Macaroni and beef skillet dinners were a go-to weeknight meal in the 1970s because they only required one pan and a few cheap ingredients. Elbow macaroni was cooked directly in a tomato-based sauce, along with browned ground beef, onions, and whatever seasoning a cook had on hand. This method saved on both time and dishwashing, which mattered for busy families juggling work, school, and community life. The pasta soaked up all the flavors of the sauce, making the whole dish rich and hearty without needing a lot of meat. A small amount of cheese sprinkled on top was a treat, but even without it, the dish was flavorful and satisfying. For many families, this skillet meal was the definition of comfort food, filling, warm, and ready in under 30 minutes. It could easily be doubled to feed a crowd or packed up for the next day's lunch. The affordability and adaptability of macaroni and beef skillet made it a true staple, and its aroma cooking on the stove was often the sign that dinner was only minutes away. Pimento cheese spread stood as a creamy, flavorful favorite that doubled as a dip or sandwich filling and became iconic in Southern kitchens. This spread combined sharp cheddar cheese with mayonnaise and diced pimentos, creating a smooth yet tangy mixture that brought vibrant color and taste to simple dishes. Pimento cheese's appeal was rooted in its versatility and ease of preparation, making it a go-to for quick snacks, party platters, and picnic fare. Families cherished this recipe for its comforting richness and ability to elevate basic ingredients. It was also budget-friendly, relying on readily available pantry staples to produce a satisfying result. The spread became a cultural staple, symbolizing Southern hospitality and home cooking traditions. Its creamy texture and bright flavor offered a delicious contrast to crackers, bread, or raw vegetables. Pimento cheese spread remains a beloved classic that reflects the warmth and resourcefulness of mid-20th century American kitchens. Canned peaches with whipped cream was a beloved easy dessert in mid-century America, combining sweet canned peach slices topped with a generous layer of light, sweetened whipped cream. This no-fuss treat required no baking or cooking, making it a go-to choice for families wanting a simple yet satisfying finish to any meal. The juicy, tender peaches paired perfectly with the creamy richness of the whipped topping, creating a classic combination of textures and flavors. Often served in individual bowls or dishes, this dessert was a staple at summer dinners, holiday gatherings, and potlucks. Its convenience and deliciousness reflected the 1960s love for canned goods and quick recipes that fit busy lifestyles. Though fresh fruit desserts have become more popular today, canned peaches with whipped cream remain a nostalgic symbol of easy homemade sweets from the era. Canned potato salad was a quick and inexpensive side dish that used canned potatoes combined with budget-friendly dressings like mayonnaise and vinegar to create a satisfying accompaniment for meals. This dish was especially handy in the 1970s when fresh potatoes might not be affordable or readily available for every meal. Using canned potatoes saved time and effort, while simple seasonings and onions added flavor without extra cost. Potato salad was often served cold, making it ideal for potlucks, picnics, or just a refreshing counterpoint to heavier main dishes. Its creamy texture and tangy taste made it a crowd pleaser among families seeking comfort food that did not strain their wallets. This recipe demonstrated how pantry staples could be turned into tasty sides with minimal ingredients and preparation, fitting perfectly into the thrifty lifestyle many households practiced during the decade. Lemon chiffon pie in the 1970s was the kind of dessert that felt like a burst of sunshine after a heavy meal. Light, airy, and refreshingly tart, it was often made with a graham cracker or pastry crust that provided just the right contrast to the fluffy lemon filling. The texture was its hallmark, achieved by folding beaten egg whites into a lemon custard mixture, creating a melt-in-your-mouth experience. This pie was especially popular in the warmer months when its cool, citrusy flavor provided relief from the heat. Many home cooks prided themselves on perfecting the balance between sweet and tart, ensuring that the lemon flavor was bright without being overwhelming. Served chilled, it was an elegant way to end a dinner party, often topped with a cloud of whipped cream for extra indulgence. In an era that valued both presentation and flavor, lemon chiffon pie delivered on both fronts. It was light enough to appeal to guests watching their diets, but indulgent enough to satisfy a sweet tooth. Its cheerful color and delicate texture made it a favorite that stood out on any dessert table. Chicken and rice baked with cream soup was a casserole that could turn just a couple of chicken pieces into a meal large enough to feed the whole family. Raw rice was combined in a baking dish with cream of mushroom or cream of chicken soup, water, and simple seasonings. The chicken was placed on top, and the whole dish baked until the meat was tender and the rice had absorbed all the creamy, savory flavor. This hands-off cooking method made it a favorite for busy weeknights, while its affordability made it a reliable choice for families keeping a close eye on grocery bills. Using a single casserole dish also meant less cleanup afterward, which only added to its appeal. Leftovers reheated well, making it ideal for packing into lunch containers the next day. Many variations existed, with some cooks adding vegetables like peas or carrots directly into the rice for a complete one-pan dinner. Whether served at the kitchen table on a weeknight or brought to a potluck chicken and rice bake was dependable, filling, and comforting. It embodied the idea that good food didn't need to be complicated, expensive, or labor-intensive to be deeply satisfying. The peanut butter and banana sandwich was a sweet and savory classic that found a special place in many mid-century American homes. This simple creation combined creamy or crunchy peanut butter with fresh banana slices layered between two pieces of soft bread, creating a quick, satisfying meal or snack. Its appeal rested on the harmonious blend of the nutty richness from the peanut butter and the natural sweetness and creaminess of the banana. The sandwich was easy to prepare, required no cooking, and could be made in minutes, which made it ideal for busy families or children's lunches. It also offered a nutritious boost, providing protein, healthy fats, and potassium. Over time, this sandwich became a nostalgic comfort food for many, evoking memories of childhood and family kitchens. Its simplicity did not diminish its popularity, as it balanced taste and health better than many other snacks of the era. The peanut butter and banana sandwich exemplifies how basic ingredients combined thoughtfully can produce a timeless favorite that crosses generations. Cream cheese and pineapple spread was a sweet and tangy cold appetizer popular in the 1960s, combining smooth cream cheese with crushed canned pineapple for a luscious and easy-to-make spread. This recipe required no cooking and could be whipped up in minutes by folding pineapple into softened cream cheese, sometimes with a touch of sugar or coconut for extra flavor. Served chilled on crackers, celery sticks, or as a sandwich filling, the spread offered a perfect balance of creamy richness and fruity sweetness that delighted guests at parties and family gatherings. Its popularity reflected the era's love for combining convenience foods with bold, contrasting flavors that were both indulgent and approachable. Cream cheese and pineapple spread became a staple of mid-century entertaining due to its simplicity, taste, and visual appeal. While tastes have evolved, this spread remains a nostalgic favorite for those who appreciate quick, retro recipes that transform everyday ingredients into delicious treats. Pineapple meatballs were a popular 1970s dish that combined inexpensive ground meat with canned pineapple to add a sweet and tangy flavor, stretching limited protein further. The pineapple chunks softened the meatballs while infusing them with a unique twist that balanced savory and fruity notes. This recipe allowed families to enjoy a festive, flavorful meal without splurging on fancy ingredients. Typically baked or simmered in a simple sauce, these meatballs were served over rice or noodles, turning modest components into a filling dinner. The canned pineapple was often a pantry staple, prized for its long shelf life and ability to brighten up otherwise plain dishes. Pineapple meatballs became a fun and unexpected crowd pleaser at tables, embodying the spirit of 1970s home cooking where creativity met necessity. Its charm was in making the most of what was available while keeping meals exciting and tasty. Shrimp Newburg in the 1970s was the kind of dish that elevated a dinner into something memorable, carrying with it a sense of old-fashioned elegance. It featured tender shrimp bathed in a velvety sauce made from butter, cream, egg yolks, and a splash of sherry, seasoned just enough to let the richness shine. The sauce coated the shrimp completely, turning each bite into a decadent experience. It was often served over crisp toast points, fluffy rice, or delicate puff pastry shells, each base soaking up the luxurious sauce. This dish was popular for special occasions, dinner parties, and holiday meals, where it stood out as a sophisticated centerpiece. While it had roots in 19th century fine dining, the 1970s brought it into suburban homes thanks to widely available shrimp and the growing influence of gourmet cookbooks. Preparing Shrimp Newburg required attention, as the sauce could not be rushed, but the payoff was undeniable. The moment it was brought to the table, its aroma signaled indulgence and care. In an era when home cooks were eager to impress without straying too far from tradition, Shrimp Newburg offered just the right mix of refinement and familiarity, a perfect showcase for entertaining. Baked ziti with cottage cheese was a frugal twist on a beloved Italian-American classic. Instead of using ricotta, which could be expensive, cottage cheese provided a creamy, tangy layer between the pasta and sauce. The dish was assembled with cooked ziti, tomato sauce, a bit of mozzarella for melting, and the cottage cheese for richness. Baked until bubbling and slightly browned on top, it was a hearty meal that could be made ahead and reheated. This casserole-style pasta was perfect for busy families, as it could stretch to feed many and used pantry-friendly ingredients. In the 1970s, such substitutions were common, and home cooks took pride in creating satisfying meals without overspending. The result was a dinner that tasted indulgent while remaining budget-friendly. Quick slaw with vinegar dressing was a tangy and no-mayonnaise coleslaw variant that became popular for its simplicity and refreshing taste. This salad featured shredded cabbage and carrots tossed with a vinegar-based dressing made from vinegar, sugar, oil, and seasonings, offering a lighter alternative to traditional creamy slaws. Quick slaw with vinegar dressing was appreciated for how fast it could be prepared, requiring no lengthy chilling or mixing of heavy ingredients. Its crisp, tangy flavor made it a favorite side dish for barbecues, picnics, and casual meals during the mid-20th century. This version of slaw fit well within the era's culinary trends, favoring easy-to-make, health-conscious dishes that complemented grilled or fried main courses. The recipe's reliance on pantry staples and fresh produce made it accessible to home cooks seeking quick, flavorful accompaniments. Quick slaw with vinegar dressing remains a nostalgic favorite that highlights mid-century America's practical approach to salads. If you remember even one of these forgotten 70s meals, you're officially retro. So comment your favorite, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.